Welcome back to DEC Does What? I'm your host, Sean Mahar, pronouns he, him, along with
Erica Ringwald, she, her.
So we've talked a lot on other episodes about the topic of harmful algal blooms. I think we've given out our words of warning and advice to fellow listeners. And this week on the show, we wanted to get some of our HABs experts on to actually go a little more in depth on what harmful algal blooms are and the steps that New York is taking to combat them. But Erica, I was up on the lake again last weekend, and my daughter is still so excited and tells all her friends about how she learned about HABs on this show from you and the words.
I'm glad I could provide that information for her.
It is. She's still so excited. She's like, Erica told me, and I'm now in it, and it's so fun. It's the things you learn on this show, and that's what
the more you know
is all about. So the more you know is important because when it comes to harmful algal blooms, or HABs as they're called, know it, avoid it, report it is our mantra, and we'll go into that in a little bit. Happy to be joined by Matt Kraft and Leanna Pierson today from our Division of Water, who are two of our HABs experts in the state that are spending a lot of time working on harmful algal blooms. Matt, Leanna, welcome to the show today.
Welcome. Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I figured we could probably tell what HABs are, but I think our listeners are going to want to hear from you. So when we say HABs, what exactly are harmful algal blooms?
So HABs, just like the acronym stands for harmful algal blooms, they are usually consist of patches of cyanobacteria, which are actually bacteria, photosynthetic bacteria, and they are billions of years old and found anywhere throughout the environment if you look hard enough.
So from the time of the dinosaurs, these things have been in our environment?
Yep, exactly.
So why have they become an issue now if they've been part of our environment for millennia?
Harmful algal blooms are becoming more prevalent today due to the conditions that are existing in water bodies in New York State, and that would be increases in temperature driven by global warming or climate change, and also increases in nutrient concentrations which fuel their growth.
In part, it's also that we've helped people recognize what they are too, right? And perhaps they didn't know before.
Correct. Education and outreach has been effective, and we're seeing more reports submitted due to more people being aware of their existence.
So how can people report HABs, and what are some of the tools that we've built to track HABs around the state?
Yeah, if you see a HAB, you can report it to the NIHABs page, the New York Harmful Algal Bloom Program. An expert like Matt or myself will look at it and determine if it is a HAB or not. And then those confirmed reports will go online onto our harmful algal bloom map, which is available on our website. And you are able to see all the HABs across the state, pictures of what they look like, when they occurred. It's a really great resource that's available to the public, and it's something that I look at constantly.
For the uninitiated, what are the telltale signs of a HAB?
Yeah, a HAB usually looks like spilled paint or pea soup, very green. They are sometimes shiny and can be blue or green or blue-green.
So when people hear the term harmful and harmful algal blooms, obviously that elicits a concerned response, of course, but what makes them harmful and why do we call them harmful algal blooms?
So they can be considered harmful in the sense that they can produce toxins under the right conditions, and those toxins can present a public health risk both to humans and to animals.
Yeah, so they could be harmful to the environment, or they can also be harmful to humans, like Matt said.
So, obviously pets are some of the stories that we hear about being impacted, some impacts to human health, but how do other wildlife species interact with HABs, and are they a problem for fish, or have fish just adapted to them in their environment?
Generally, we don't see a large effect on wildlife, even when there are toxins present. Animals have seemed to adapt it over time.
What are some of the symptoms of exposure to a HAB?
Such symptoms can occur if toxins are present or if they are not, like diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. Some people can have irritation to their skin, eyes, throat, or like this is in very severe cases like breathing difficulties. But if you see discolored water, you should avoid it. People and pets should avoid contact with HABs and rinse off with clean water. If your dog happens to go in the water, just make sure that they're clean. Generally, just avoid contact with HABs.
Good advice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we coordinate really closely with the Department of Health on this because we need them to help us make health-based informed decisions and some of our reporting. And it's a solid partnership, I think, that we've built in the state, and really, I think something that's exemplary of how other states in the nation should really follow when it comes to monitoring for HABs and working collectively to protect public health.
Yeah, we work very closely with them on public water supplies. So if any reports come in, we're in contact with Department of Health on risk to public water supplies.
So you mentioned, our database and tracking that we do on our website, dec.ny.gov, where you can find and learn more information about HABs and help contribute to the observations and the science. But what are some of the other ways that we're researching HABs, and what exactly are we looking into when it comes to the work to address HABs in our environment?
So some example research projects that we have been working on related to HABs are the actual toxin production, under what conditions are toxins produced, and there are different variants of those toxins that can have a larger toxic effect, and we are researching the impacts of different variables such as nitrogen and different levels of phosphorus on the production of those toxins and the different types of toxins. Another interesting project that we have collaborated with USGS on is looking at HABs and what we call oligotropic leaks, so low nutrient lakes. And the preliminary results of that study has indicated that harmful cyanobacteria are present in low nutrient lakes, even if there's not a bloom occurring. So it's kind of helped us figure out that cyanobacteria are basically everywhere. It's just when those conditions become right that they actually form a harmful algal bloom.
And HABs can be seen statewide in Long Island, the Adirondacks, rural, urban settings. And it's not just New York that we're seeing harmful algal blooms. They're across the state, across the country, across the world. And usually we see them during summer months, like when the temperatures rise, when water temperatures rise. So August, September. Right now, the people that are on NIHABs actually evaluating reports are very busy.
I bet. In addition to the research that we're conducting, I know that we're undertaking efforts across the state to reduce the frequency of HABs. Can you talk a little bit about some of that work?
So we are working on a number of mitigation pilot projects where we're trying to reduce the severity of harmful algal blooms. And then in addition to that, we have our clean water programs, which would be, the purpose of those would be to reduce the drivers of the harmful algal blooms, primarily nutrients getting into our waterways.
When you say nutrients, what do you mean exactly?
The major nutrient of concern in New York State is phosphorus. Most lakes and rivers in New York State are what we call phosphorus limited. So the two primary nutrients that are being used by cyanobacteria are nitrogen and phosphorus, but that limiting nutrient that controls the growth of the cyanobacteria is primarily phosphorus.
So what are some of those sources of nutrients that are coming into our lakes?
Some sources include agricultural runoff, runoff from urban settings, wastewater treatment plants, forests and stream bank erosion. I think I hit on all the major key ones.
Yeah, we generally characterize those into point and non-point sources. So examples of point sources of nutrients would be wastewater treatment plant facilities, and the non-point sources would be things like agriculture or septic systems.
I think it's something that we have to accept. Harmful algal blooms are not going anywhere. They're, part of the environment. Just having awareness to what a HAB looks like, avoiding them, reporting them to New York State is what we can do right now. And, reducing nutrient runoff is probably the best bet.
Right, like doing our utmost to reduce the nutrients that feed harmful algal blooms, to reduce the frequency.
And that was really why, we started on creating HAB action plans for priority lakes and ecosystems around the state, where we're really taking the science that we're doing and looking at the nutrients that are contributing to it and the factors that are contributing to it, and working with our local governments, our agricultural partners to get the right changes in place. HABs are going to be part of our environment, but obviously they can, grow into a point where they impact public drinking water supplies or public health, and that's where we want to balance that out so we create a healthy, sustainable ecosystem overall.
Yeah, I'd like to mention, too, that we do have a number of funding sources to combat those drivers of harmful algal blooms, primarily nutrients. So We have our Water Quality Improvement Project program, which is a competitive statewide reimbursement grant program that directly funds projects that improve water quality. And then we also have our non-agricultural, non-point source planning grant, which is another competitive reimbursement grant program that funds planning for non-point source water quality improvement projects and mapping of municipal separate stormwater systems statewide. So the Lakes Classification and Inventory program is our internal statewide water quality monitoring program. And as part of that, we incorporate a component of harmful algal bloom monitoring. So we're looking at the distribution of water quality parameters statewide, including cyanotoxins, so we can get a representative sample of lakes across the state to make kind of large-scale conclusions regarding the, prevalence and distribution of the production of cyanotoxins.
We rely on visual reporting through NIHABs. So everybody takes a picture and sends that picture into the NIHABs workspace. It's more representative of statewide conditions than just going out and bloom chasing, sampling a bloom.
And one of the reasons why we rely on the visual reporting for public awareness rather than laboratory testing for toxins is harmful algal blooms are very ephemeral. They can be there 1 hour and gone the next. So even if you were to sample that for cyanotoxins, that bloom could be gone by the time you receive the laboratory results back from the lab. So really the safest option is to rely on that visual reporting to be the most protective of public health.
So are all the pictures you get always of HABs, or is there misidentification that happens that people think they see a HAB, but it's really not? And what are some of the other things that you see that may look like a HAB?
Yeah, we get tons of pictures, depending on the day. You can get some pretty funny ones in there. But we see pictures of pollen, usually in the springtime. That's a common misconception between, HABs and pollen. So pollen is usually a little bit more yellowish. Sometimes we see aquatic plants like duckweed or filamentous algae, which are just part of the environment. Maybe they're a little bit unsightly, but they are not a harmful algal bloom. When you're submitting a harmful algal bloom report, taking 2 pictures is usually the best, one close up and then one further away so we can see the extent of the HAB as well. Sometimes it's hard to get a good picture with the water glare or, it's hard sometimes to take a picture. So 2 pictures usually helps us, and you can always send in additional pictures. We love pictures.
Does a HAB look better using 0.5 or regular? Because I hear all the kids are talking about 0.5s today.
What?
You never heard of 0.5s?
No.
I'll take one of you later. Yeah. You can see it.
Oh. So, Matt, New York State is investing a lot of resources to prevent the frequency of harmful algal blooms. We are conducting nation-leading research to do this and doing work across the state to reduce nutrients. What would you say is sort of our biggest challenge when it comes to HABs?
I think our biggest challenge is that solving the issue takes a holistic approach. There's no silver bullet to getting rid of harmful algal blooms. Generally, these are nutrient issues that have accumulated over a long period of time, and they're going to take a long time to address.
So I hear a lot about red tide down on Long Island. I'm not sure if that is a HAB, but do HABs occur in marine environments?
So yes, HABs can occur in marine waters producing marine blooms. These commonly occur off of the coast of New York and other eastern coastal states. The Bureau of Marine Resources has a marine biotoxin monitoring program to search for the presence of toxin-producing algae and to detect the marine biotoxins in shellfish, such as clams, mussels, and oysters.
Yum. So how did you get involved in this HABs work? And are there courses that you took in college directly relating to HABs, or was this more on-the-ground training once you came to DEC?
So I did my undergrad at SUNY Plattsburgh, up in the Lake Champlain Basin. And so it's right on Lake Champlain. And, I heard about harmful algal blooms. That was kind of my first introduction to HABs. And then I did my master's at the University of Vermont, but on the New York side, working at an agricultural research institute. So I studied phosphorus and nitrogen runoff from fields with and without tile drainage. And like Matt mentioned before, phosphorus and nitrogen are two of the major nutrients that are essential in HAB occurrence. So basically from the time of my undergrad to graduate school, I was working on HABs. And then when I started at DEC, kept the HAB train growing and going.
So was it difficult to work with the agricultural community, or like were they receptive to the research that you were doing and sort of, what you were trying to work with them on?
Yeah. So working at an agricultural research institute, minor institute, it was a fully operational dairy farm. It definitely gave me a different perspective on the whole agricultural field and something that I was never exposed to. I really enjoyed that experience because I feel like it kind of has given me a more rounded approach to the environment. There's a lot of runoff coming from the agricultural fields, but it's not the only source. Like I mentioned before about wastewater treatment plants, urban runoff. I think that sometimes agricultural gets pinpointed, and that's not necessarily the case. But for the most part, they were very receptive to, the research that was going on and just keeping phosphorus on the field. That's kind of their major point.
So Matt, talk to us a little bit about your pathway, similar to Leanna's.
Somewhat similar. My undergraduate degree was in geology at SUNY Buffalo State, and then I did my master's degree at the University of Vermont in their geology program. But I was a little bit unique as I specialized in paleolimnology, which you can kind of think of as paleontology for lakes. So reconstructing climate and trophic conditions in lakes using sediment cores. So I think I'm kind of unique that I have the perspective, that long-term perspective of lakes and tracking environmental change through time.
So can you actually find HABs in the lake soil cores that you take? Like, do they build up, and can you see, like, over time how they've changed?
So yeah, you can actually record the record of cyanobacteria in sediment cores through the pigments that they produce, and then resting cells, aconites that they produce, which you can kind of think as a seed for cyanobacteria. And we see those going back up to 10,000 years in New York State and sediment cores that I've collected. So they've been with us for a long time, and they're going to be with us for a long time.
And now we just got to find the way to live with them. So Leanna and Matt, thank you very much for being on DEC Does What today. This was great to spend a little time going in on our harmful algal bloom work around the state. Really kudos to you and your teams for all the important work that you're helping to facilitate, and obviously the partnerships you're helping to grow and the important research that's underway. So as we come to the end of the show today, Matt, that's helpful to know that, it's not just freshwater that we're looking at, HABs overall, but what are some of the real key take-home messages that we want to leave our listeners with today? Obviously, know it, avoid it, report it, but really dive us in a little bit more on what that means and what people should do.
First, you should know what it looks like. A HAB looks like pea soup, spilled paint, or sometimes like globs. It can be blue or blue-green. The next is avoid it. If the water looks discolored, don't go swimming, don't make contact with the water. And finally, anyone can fill out a report form and submit it to review. Take a close-up photo and a backup picture and send that picture to the report form. To report a harmful algal bloom, search for the New York Harmful Algal Bloom Program. And the website will pull up with the interactive map, the report form, and other HAB information.
Well, Matt, Leanna, this was a great conversation today, really going in a little more deep on our HABs work in the state, and really kudos to you and your teams for all the important research that you're facilitating on the ground, all the important awareness and public education that we're doing, and really, take great pride in what you're doing to help New Yorkers stay informed on HABs and really help encourage them to help our science by knowing it, avoiding it, and reporting it. So please visit dec.ny.gov, find our HABs page, find our reporting tools there, and send us your pictures, 0.5s if you like, but really send us your pictures, multiple pictures of the HABs you're seeing, and our researchers will use that information and make sure that we're keeping the public informed. So thank you two for being on the show today, and we'll let you get back to work here in our water world of DEC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, episode 10, Erica, that was a fun conversation with our harmful algal bloom experts.
Bloom chasers.
Exactly. And obviously, harmful algal bloom's a summertime thing, but we also have some other summertime things happening around the state. And I hear the New York State Fair is coming up soon.
I believe you mean the great New York State Fair.
Sorry.
Interim Commissioner Mahar. That is August 21st to September 2nd in the beautiful city of Syracuse. I believe you will be there, Sean.
I'm looking forward to it.
To purchase your hunting license.
I am. You can buy your hunting and fishing licenses at the fair. DEC has a really awesome booth and setup there.
There are fish.
There are fish. There are experts. There are people. You can learn all about the great things that DEC is doing all across the state. It's a true celebration of really all the state agencies in the state working together and really all New York State has to offer. So really encourage you all to get out to the state fair this summer, check it out. It's got a long run, so you can plan accordingly, and there's plenty of things to do.
And lots of fun stuff to eat, too.
There are. Speaking of eating things, Erica, not that I could eat these, but I was down this week hanging out in Jamaica Bay with the Billion Oyster Project, planting oysters in the water.
How was that?
It was pretty amazing, actually. It was fun. We have celebrated some investments that the governor has made in our coastal resilience efforts, and part of those investments go directly to the Billion Oyster Project to really help work with nature to restore our coastal environment and improve water quality using the natural species that are found there. So oysters are on the comeback now, and they're really a key species to help improve water quality, and it was great to plant some this week.
It is amazing. I don't know if you know off the top of your head how much water a single oyster can filter.
Oh, I believe it is 50 gallons per day.
Think about that.
50 gallons per day. One oyster.
Amazing.
It is amazing. You know, it also is amazing, Erica. I think we have some environmental justice listening tours coming up. What's that all about?
Yes. DEC is working with our partners at the U.S. EPA to conduct an environmental justice listening tour. We were out in the Buffalo area earlier this summer, and we're going to be out on Long Island on August 21st. If you'd like to join that session, check out the DEC website for more info. It's www.dec.ny.gov. These meetings are really an opportunity for us to hear from communities about their environmental concerns. Right? You get the information from the source. So, great opportunity for us to get out.
Definitely, and I know, Erica, you and I will probably be out at some of these coming up. So, listeners, if you'd like to meet us in person, please take a look at the upcoming EJ listening sessions and our tour that's around, and stop by and listen to what we're doing and give us your feedback. And it would be great to meet you. And well, this brings us to the end of our 10th episode here at DEC Does
Yes,
What?
It does.
Exciting milestone to reach. And with that, we're going to take a break for a few weeks as we spend some time, obviously, getting out and about and around the state at the Great State Fair, at our EJ listening sessions, and really spending more time with the teams. So I think we're also going to head down to the Catskill Fish Hatchery on August 20th. Check out that episode from Michelle
cool.
Koprowski and get to see firsthand the fish take that they're going to do. But please keep sending us your ideas as we work through this break. We want to spend some time really honing in and enhancing this show and these episodes, and really that takes feedback from you. So please email us at contact@dec.ny.gov. Send us your show ideas or things you want to hear about, and we look forward to picking this back up in the fall and continuing these episodes moving forward. But Erica, what's the most important thing people can do as we end the show today?
Get outside.
DEC Does What? Is a production of DEC's Division of Communication, Education, and Engagement. Our theme music is an original composition by Mike Menza, wildlife technician with DEC's Division of Fish and Wildlife. Like what you heard on this episode? Please leave a review and share this episode with others. Want to learn more about DEC's wide-ranging efforts to protect New Yorkers and the environment? Visit dec.ny.gov or connect with us on social media. You can find us using @NYSDEC. For more information on DEC Does What, visit dec.ny.gov/podcast.